Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. This is your host, Andrew Frazier. Excited to be back with you. As you may have noticed, last week we actually did a recording. So really that was the first time in 2.5 years that we've missed a live evening. However, Valentine's Day is a pretty important day for most people. And I think you probably had things to do, and I had some things I needed to do. So, if we're going to take a break, that was a good day to take a break. But we're back now, excited as always, and really looking forward to today's talk. We're going to be talking about smart solutions in business and in life. Definitely it's good to make smart decisions. And, we've got with us the smart guy. So, I look forward to learning from his wisdom. He's done a lot of great things with technology, with automation, and really, thinking through kind of in a smart way where the future is going and, how he can contribute to people's needs, wants, and desires based on where they are and where they're going. So today's guest, we've got Ryan. Let me bring him on. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Andrew, how are you, sir?
Excellent. So, definitely good to have you here this evening, and looking forward to a great episode with you today.
Absolutely. I can't wait to chat up about business in New Jersey.
Okay, excellent. So, definitely, you're New Jerseyan through and through. You really were able to build one business successfully, and now you're in the process of building building on what your first business was, but really taking it to a whole new level, and in a market where there's probably almost unlimited growth. So what you're about to do is pretty revolutionary. So, that being said, I can't tell your story better than you can. So, why don't you take a few minutes, talk a little bit about your journey, some of the key milestones and key learnings, and then we'll just get into, bring it back and, chat more about the topic. But feel free to take a little bit of time because you've done some great stuff and it'd be good for people to hear about it.
Well, sure. It's funny. I chuckle when you say learnings because I think of all the failures. The best way to me for learning is to learn, with my hands. So thank you very much for having me on. As you said, my name is Ryan Hurd. I've been in the smart tech industry for 30 years. I actually wrote the book on it called Join the Smart Home Revolution. And within the industry, I'm known as Ryan Hurd, the Smart Guy. And I do chuckle, and I have to do a shout out to Barry Cohen, who is another, he's AdLab creative, but he actually came up and coined me, Ryan Hurd, the Smart Guy. So every time you chuckle, you can yell at Barry. But honestly, thank you very much. I am a Jersey boy through and through. and I love technology. And it started in the heydays of the 80s and 90s. You know, it was the car audio days. That was my first company. And boy, it was fun. It was so much fun. I spent the times on Ridge Road cruising. I'm sure that's gonna, resonate with a bunch of people down in Newark, Bunker Hill. That's gonna resonate with some other people, and also in the Oranges cruising, and of course, Seaside. You can't ever let out Seaside. But those were the days between doing the car audio stuff, between doing the sound stuff. The days of the Webster Hall. Yeah, I might show my age, but that's why I have all the gray hair. Up to lately, whereas I'm leveraging the smart technology to help our aging loved ones. So that's really that's what I am doing right now, and boy, it's it's been fun and interesting to say the very least.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, definitely, taking things from your original business, moving it to the new one, and you know, just to go into a little more detail, your first business was really smart homes and um, automating them. So, definitely, it's a good solution for your business because it differentiated you, but also
Mm.
solution for your customer in life. So,
Actually, my first business was in 1989, and that was a car audio shop called Sonic Excellence, and that was with Car and Custom, and that was, again, the heydays of, well, let's say Northern New Jersey racing.
okay,
Shout out to my peeps from Car and Custom there. We were in Rochelle Park and some other place. It was great. But then you go from that to a home theater company, from that to a smart home company, and then from that to today, which is age tech, longevity tech. It's about caring for our loved ones, and really everything that has brought me to this point in life is really all surrounded by technology. It's funny when you talk about smart home. Honestly, the best techs for smart home are the guys that come from the car audio industry, because if you understand voltages and triggering and technology there, it translates very well into the home.
okay, okay. So yeah, it's amazing what you learn and how it can be useful so many other places, um,
Yeah.
and it surprisingly guides you through. I started as a business owner, went through, did all kinds of other stuff, and now I'm a business owner again.
Full
Couldn't get away
circle.
from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was finally out, and they pulled me back in.
Yeah.
But so cool. So now, with your new business, we've talked a little bit about it, and you're really taking something that's a really huge need for many people, and being able to solve it in a totally more valuable way.
Right.
And really, you learn this because you had aging parents,
Yeah.
and a lot of best business ideas are solving a need, want, or desire, and that's
Exactly.
basically what you did. So talk a little bit about what the need, want, and desire is that led you to create the new business.
Sure. So my other company, we focus in smart technology specifically for high net worth, high profile individuals. So we do really cool stuff in really big houses. And I mean, really, it's, if you can dream it, you can do it. And then unfortunately, my father got cancer. And when he was getting his chemo treatments, I was concerned because when he came home, there was this one medication that he had to take, and it was for his neuropathy. And it had to be taken on a 24-hour cycle. So let's say 1 o'clock. The next day, he would have to take it at 1 o'clock. And it was very important to take it at the same time every day, unlike other things that could be taken either morning or night relative, within a couple hours. So I was concerned, and there really wasn't anything out there that was helping me. So of course, I did what everybody does. I got a camera, I put a camera in there, and it lasted all of 10 to 15 like seconds. And then I had a dish towel thrown right over it. And then I tried to use some other off the shelf smart home product. And it just wasn't giving me what I needed. I needed to be the fly on the wall. I needed to know, did dad get up? Is he moving around? Is he eating? Or God forbid, is he face first on the floor? So I basically cobbled this solution together. And then I did it again for my grandmother, who just turned 97 years young on Friday. And then I started talking to other people about it, just like this. And they said, we really need this. We need to know. I need more peace of mind. So fast forward to today, it's called Caregiver Smart Solutions. And it is a tool to help you monitor your loved one as they age in place. And it's because caregiving is stressful. And all I want is a little more peace of mind and time back in my life. And the interesting thing is, when I started down this journey and I started looking into tech in this side of the industry, I realized really quickly that it seems like it stopped in 1990. It was the I've fallen and I can't get up. You remember those commercials? Ladies on the floor, she's yelling, I've fallen and I can't get up. And then you give her a button and you say, if you're gonna have a bad accident, push the button. There's got to be something better. And knowing my other side, and we're doing audio, video, shades, multi-room music, multi-room TVs. I mean, you could push one button and the entire mansion lights up. And over here, I don't even know if dad got up. So, and as you said it before, a lot of times the best ideas start from a personal need, and then you start realizing that there is this problem. And the problem that we are fundamentally solving is when your loved one goes home and closes that door, it is a black hole of information. You have no idea what's going on. And all you want, you just want to be a fly in the wall. I just need to know. Did dad get up? Is mom moving around? Did grandma eat? And that's what we're trying to do. And I think we're doing a phenomenal job at it.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So, one thing I want to talk a little bit about is the business model for your previous business and this one are totally different.
Totally.
Like your previous business wasn't really scalable.
Exactly.
This one is scalable. So can you talk a little bit about the differences, some of the differences in the business model and what you're doing and the pros and cons of each? So, let's start with from a growth perspective.
My past companies have always been service based. And what I mean by that, whether it was car audio, home theaters, smart home, I always had to find a new customer each and every time. And every job was a one-off. So whether I was doing competition cars and we were in magazines and it was absolutely phenomenal, or doing home theaters or, smart homes, everything was always a one-off. And unfortunately, a service-based organization is a very hard company to sell and or grow, because you're limited either by A, your time, B, your ability, or C, your capability of getting enough labor to execute. So you'll always be capped on that side. Caregiver Smart Solution is hardware as a service. So we sell what's called the core kit, and that covers about 80% of households. And it's taking care of the major areas that events happen in. So master bedroom, master bathroom, living room, dining room, kitchen, front door, side door, a medicine cabinet, refrigerator, temperature and humidity, all of those things. So that is sold for $5.99. And then on top of that, there's a $59 a month subscription fee. So that is technically monthly recurring revenue. This is a lot like an alarm business model, except we are selling the hardware, and that is scalable and that is valuable. So when you start looking at investment, VCs, capital, you start talking about MRR, monthly recurring revenue, or ARR, annual recurring revenue. And that's what really brings the value. And what makes this company extremely valuable is, for example, I said alarms. So alarms have a penetration of about 15% of all US households have alarms. And that's great. But the problem is their attrition rate is about 60%. So basically what that means is the industry sells the consumer via fear. Oh my God, somebody is stalking your house. Somebody is going to break in. You want your family safe and secure. And that's fine. You absolutely do. And then the alarm does a good job. And then nothing happens. And then 2 years later, after you're out of contract, you're like, well, I don't need to spend this $60 a month because nothing happens. That's why their attrition rate is so big. So this, unfortunately, I guess fortunately from a business standpoint, but unfortunately, as we get older, you know, I'm not running any faster. It's harder for me to run as I get older. And as we get older, we need a little more help. So Caregiver Smart Solutions is actually designed as a platform. And as you get older, we partner with Best of Breed to bring more solutions to the problem that you're facing. Hopefully that made sense.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, definitely from a growth standpoint, your other business was pretty limited.
Yeah.
You could grow, but, and also, for the new business, the hardware, you're selling a product. So you can make a lot more products easier than you can hire more people. And then you're selling subscription. So the business model is really, you just have the fixed cost of creating it, and everything else is, revenue and profitability. Not really much in the way of fixed costs.
And then you're also selling into a industry that is growing. So when you look at the specs, and I forgive me because a lot of times I don't know the best way to articulate this, because when we're talking about, or we have to remember that we're talking about our aging loved ones, right? So we have to be empathetic because we want mom around for as long as possible, and grandma. But at that same, talking about that, there are specs. So you look at the amount of people that are turning 65. As of 2020, there was 55 million Americans that are 65 and older. And by 2030, there's going to be 75 million Americans that are 65 and older. That means 10,000 people a day are turning 65. That's just US. As of right now, if there's 55 million Americans that are 65 and older in the US, there's 350 million people on the planet that are 65 and older. And every day it gets much, much larger. So you look at Japan. Japan is one of the oldest societies around. A lot of those people have gone over that 65. So it's a very interesting need and problem, whereas, and on so many levels, and I could talk to this depending on how deep you really want to go, but it is actually fascinating from a bunch of different levels, from business, from technology, from psychology, everything.
Okay. So no, definitely we can do some of that. With a lot of times people start service businesses, and that's really what you did as well. And why would you say that is, and why would you say you started a service business rather than a product or a subscription business?
Blame it on my mother. And what I mean by that is, back in the day, I might have not been the best student. You can read that forever you want. But here I am, a senior, and it's time to figure out what I'm going to do. So there was always two things I did in life. I always cooked, and I always was tinkering around with technology. So I went to culinary school. I went to Hudson County Culinary Arts in Jersey City, right on Kennedy Ave. And that was because, number one, I cooked for this place right around from my high school, which was actually an assisted living facility. But again, when you're 17, 16, and 18, you're not thinking about that. It's just you're cooking over here. And my chef, actually mentioned, he's like, hey, you should think about going to culinary school. And I'm like, sounds good. So then I did that. But in the meantime, I always had this car audio thing, and I was building it and I was getting better and doing more things. And my mother, she put the hex of death into it. She was an entrepreneur. I do come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mother, my uncles, I mean, a good amount of people in my family have taken the leap. And we had a conversation, and well, I dropped out of college and I started my first company, and hell or high water, here I am.
Okay. All
But
right.
to answer that question, a service-based organization is the quote unquote easiest. So generally, I mean, think about it. You have a talent. You could be a tradesman. There are certain trades that you really should go to school. Like if you're going to do electrical, you have to get your electrical's license and plumbing and all that. But it starts with an ability, something you can do. And then you start doing that. A service-based organization. It's the easiest to slap together and put an LLC or sole proprietorship. I definitely suggest doing an LLC. And that's how we start. But you start getting into capacity issues. So your time, there's only 24 hours a day, the value of your time, and then depending on what you're doing, conveying that information and knowledge to somebody else. And that's where, you have a struggle about of becoming bigger.
Okay. No, I mean, definitely a great point. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier and less expensive to start a service business.
Yeah.
Generally, people start businesses because they're good at something, so they work
Right.
in business rather than on it.
Yeah.
And generally, from a profitability standpoint, at least at small volumes, the service business is way more profitable because it doesn't really have the variable costs or
Right.
that you have in a product business. So,
Well, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when they talk business and entrepreneurism. There's nothing wrong with being two guys in a truck or owning a laundromat or, being a CPA. You can make a very good living with very low liability doing this. I mean, and I think that's where it kind of comes down to. It's like, all right, you got to sit back and say, how much money do I really want to make? I want to make 100 grand a year. I want to make 150. That's easily attainable being, two people in a truck, whether it's an electrician, a plumber, an AV guy, whatever it is, that's very easy. And the benefits are low overhead, control, time in your life. So if you have a family and you want to see kids and all that stuff, there are a lot of benefits to that. And there's this one level as you're growing and you want to get to that next level. There is this mid-level that is a bear. And what it is, it's just very hard to climb out of it. But then you create this machine, and the problem with creating a machine is it's got to be fed. And when you do it with a service-based organization, I mean, that's a lot of gray hair.
Okay. All right. No, good explanation. I would say one thing is you can make 150 or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's not easy.
Well, easy is relative, right?
Well, because most businesses never ever get revenues of 100,000 or more. So, it's an accomplishment, but it's doable. It's very doable. You'll be working your butt off though.
You are. But the other thing too is you got to think about the value of your time, right? Yeah. So I guess one way of explaining it was, you can lift a wheelbarrow full of rocks and get from point A to point B, or you can lift a wheelbarrow full of gold. It's the same amount of time, same amount of effort. And the way that translates is from the entrepreneur's world. I mean, you can sell something for $1 or you can sell something for $10. Generally, selling the higher ticket item takes the exact same amount of time as the lower item. And one of the negatives of selling lower items is now you have 10 times the amount of people. That's also 10 times the amount of question, 10 times the amount of sales. And again, this kind of generally applies to whether you're the AV guy or a CPA or whatever. So you got to find out what works best for you. But again, it's, what the key is? Showing up. Mm-hmm. You got to show up.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so, and you got to do that over a period of time. But you
Yeah.
mentioned something interesting in that definitely you have the different types of businesses,
Yeah.
and part of it depends on the level of risk you have, but also a lot you mentioned on the type of life you want to have,
Yeah.
because really your business should be to benefit your life. Your life's not there for your business. So how have you made decisions within your businesses based on your goals and your life goals and where you want to be at different times in life?
That's a very interesting question. So I've had the luxury with my past company to have the time to really, family time for me is very important. So to be able to spend with my kids, I have three boys. So to be the little league coach, to be the soccer coach, to be, Cub Scout leader. I'm also involved with my local township pretty heavily. And that's because, again, personal beliefs. I believe that it's very important to give back to your community. And we can all give back. Some people have talent, some people have time, some people have knowledge. We all have something to give back to our community, and that's also taking ownership from where you live. So my past company has really given me the ability to have that time, and I cherish it because I look at my kids, and now that they're getting older, that's awesome. But I really appreciate the time that they gave me, the gray hairs of all the yelling and screaming and craziness. But now you're looking back at it and saying, "Oh man, that's gone." With that said, my journey now has turned into not as much time, which is okay because the kids are getting a little older. But for me, um, there's certain times in life that I believe a door opens where you can truly have a positive effect on people's lives. And that's the way I'm looking at this venture because, to give somebody the ability to know how their loved one's doing by putting some tiny non-invasive sensors in their house and having an app to know that mom got up and she moving around, or God forbid, you gave her a call and she doesn't answer, at least, oh well, she's okay, maybe she didn't put in her hearing aids. I mean, that's life changing. So that's what gets me up every morning now, and that's what gets me excited, because going from a service-based organization to a hardware-based organization and you're becoming a manufacturer, it gets exponentially harder. I'm so glad I'm not the smartest guy around, because if I realized what I was in for before I started this, I probably never would have done it. But I could tell you, I could talk to you about importing, manufacturing, worldwide distribution now. I mean, it's a crash course on manufacturing.
Okay. Well, one thing about being an entrepreneur is you should be learning something every day. I mean,
Oh
I've
yeah.
done this for many, many years, worked with so many business owners, but I'm still learning something new pretty much every day. And
Yeah.
especially with technology and other things that are happening, you have to
Yeah.
do everything you can to keep up. So, one thing I think, you started your initial service business. Your goal was to get as many customers as possible, so
Yeah.
and get as many jobs as possible. But I think and that was really focused on working in your business. You were trying to work in your business as much as you could.
Yeah.
But I think at a point you sort of change that strategy, and I think one of the things is you have to analyze your situation and look at the numbers to really improve anything.
Yeah.
So, I think at a point you started doing that, because it seemed like you made a shift from trying to have more customers and more business to less customers, less employees, but higher rates.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about kind of what you did there, what drove you to do that, and sort of how you were able to implement it successfully?
I think one of the milestones that I had was I learned not to sell from my own pocket. And what I mean by that is, as a blue collar worker, I'm only making so much. I have housing costs. I'm trying to raise a family. There's food, all of these things, and I'm worried about not having enough money and whatever. And in the beginning, I was putting my own value on what I was doing. So I was looking for the cheapest alternative for my clients, but I wasn't doing them justice, and I was selling from my own pocket. When I got out of that mindset and I made the turn to be like, you know what, the I am the authority in this field, and part of being a professional is always learning more. So I got laser focused on what I did and what I did well, which was smart technology. I learned everything I could. I got certified for everything I could. I created relationships with manufacturers. So now I'm value because I know my stuff. And I also was able to provide solutions for their problems. So it went from talking about the stuff to what problem. So, for example, if you think about the heydays of surround sound, and you used to say, oh, it's a Sony receiver, it's 7 channels, 150 watts a channel, and it's 1080p, and people don't care. You know what they care about? I want to sit down. I want to have an amazing experience. I want the picture to be clear and big. I want to feel like I am in the movie theater or in Jurassic Park. Can you do that for me? Or I want to be able to come home, push a button, have all my lights come on to a certain level. I want some jazz music on. I want light in my kitchen just on the center island. I want all my cabinets lit up, and I just want to crack a bottle of red. When I started taking that shift, and then I also started realizing the value of your time. So, for example, when flat screens started coming out and then they started to be commoditized, it was, people were slinging TVs for 99 bucks, meaning two guys in a truck show up, put a TV on the wall for 99 bucks. Well, as a service-based organization, your guys can only be so many places during the day because that house is never next to the other house. So there's always drive time. There's always efficiencies. There's talking to the customer. There's setting up. There's bringing the tools in, taking the tools. All of these things created capacity issues. So what you learn, at least in my service-based organization, is the key to profitability is get larger jobs and keep the guys on the job for an 8-hour day. So they get dispatched, they go to the job site, they work, they get a full 8 hours of chargeable time, and then they go home. So again, it's realizing the value of your time. And then the other thing that was able to help me get to the next level is really thinking about, do I need to do this? Do I have to build the website, or can I have somebody else do it? Do I have to do the marketing, or can I have somebody else do it? So that's when you start going from working in your business to working on your business. When you hire your first guy, your first two guys, when you hire your first salesperson, when you hire your first project management, now you can start getting away and focusing on your business and being more tactical and be like, okay, where do I want to go? Where do I want to specialize? And then take it from there.
Okay. So yeah, so definitely, um, being able to look at how your business is working, look at the business model and the dynamics led you to really shift. And without looking at the numbers and really understanding the model, it's unlikely that you would think to make that shift.
Yeah.
Because, you're like, well, less customers, do I really, smaller team. I want to be successful. I want more people on my team. And people want a fair price, so I could charge less. But that's counterintuitive, all that stuff. But that probably made your business way better than it was before. Both for you and for your customers.
Well, and other things too. So we were able to use higher quality equipment that provided more stability. That also gave me the tools that if there was an issue, I can remote in. So now, when there's a problem, what do you want? You want that problem resolved as fast as possible. The old days of being like, all right, let me get you on the schedule. I'll do it next Tuesday. Oh, that's not good enough. Let me see what I can move around and get somebody there tomorrow. Now, if you have the right tools and the right product, I could be like, all right, give me a minute, tap on the computer, try to figure it out. And 95% of all issues can be resolved remotely now. And that helps the consumer, that helps me. And that's why I am the industry best.
Okay, excellent. So, so then that model worked for you,
Yeah.
but there's also limitations there. Um, so that's, and so it's like your business model continued to evolve
Yeah.
based on a lot of things that you're learning, and I think that happens for a lot of business owners. So
Yeah.
it's an evolution. Even for me, I'm still doing a lot of the services myself, but I've also built some products and some tools that we're going to be transitioning towards, and we'll see what the next journey, piece of the journey
Yeah.
is. But it's a continual learning process. But at least it's helpful to sort of know where things should be going if you want to continue to grow, and what the pluses and minuses of each situation are.
And
So,
today, with Solus technology, ChatGPT, and everything else, all the AI that's coming out, you can really, if you really sit down for a minute and focus on all the tasks that you have to do in pretty much any business, I don't care if you're a one-man shop or not, you can absolutely leverage these tools to 10x your productivity, whether it's sending out emails, social media marketing, whatever that stuff is. It really is making you, a better person, and having the right tools to do that.
yep. No, I couldn't agree more. Since the pandemic, I've embraced technology even more,
Yeah.
and my productivity is at least 10x. So, so it's definitely beneficial. Of course, it seems like your productivity goes up, but then everything else goes up too. So it doesn't feel like your amount of work and other stuff goes up. So it feels like
Very
it's
true.
on the treadmill, but
Yeah.
it's all good. So you talked a little bit about the time thing, and I think a lot of business owners don't really appreciate it until they get to a point where it becomes a problem, because they don't really think about their time and the time of the other people as valuable.
Yeah.
But also, there's a lot of time in business that's spent that's not billable.
Yeah.
And so I think you mentioned how you sort of were able to increase the amount of billable time. Any any other thoughts around how you were able to do that, and how you even realized that you needed to do that?
So the great equalizer is time. All of us, I don't care how much money you have, how little money you have. I don't care about race, religion, any of that stuff. We all get the exact same amount of time. So what you do with it is important. And when you're talking about service-based organization, or really anything, you need to look at all the tasks and say, okay, number one, do I need to do this? Number two, is there a better way of doing it? So for example, in the other company, being a service-based organization, as I said, if you're throwing TVs up, mounting TVs, you can only do so many unless you have a commercial job like a restaurant, and you can do, 30 of them in a day. That's efficient. But if you had to do 30 single family homes in a day, even if they're next to each other, it's not going to happen. So what I learned early on is if I can keep the guys on a specific job for a full hours, now you actually have an 8-hour billable time. In a typical service-based organization, think of it as, again, either AV guy, electrician, plumber, all of these trades kind of have the same thing of about 60% efficiency over the week, because when you look at your labor hours, you have your overhead or your burn rate, you have your insurance that runs 24 hours, maybe you have a shop that costs you money 24 hours, your insurance costs you money 24 hours. your guys, okay, they don't cost you money 24 hours, but they cost you 52 weeks a year, yet you only get 50 weeks of productivity out of them because you give them at least 2 weeks vacation. And then on a daily basis, they're here 8 hours, but in reality, maybe they're loading up the truck, or they're going out to lunch, or they're driving from point A to point B. So on a good day, you're getting 6 hours a day. So how can you move that? And that's by changing over, being more efficient on your setting of schedule, and trying to get big chunks so the guys can stay on a job all day, or splitting up your team so you have guys that do installs and guys that do tech. So maybe if somebody's having a problem, maybe you only need one guy to go there. I don't need 2 guys all the time. So again, look at your processes and just figure out ways to streamline it and make it a little easier on yourself.
Okay. And that actually drives back to pricing as well, because a lot of people, especially small business owners, have difficulties pricing, because it's both an art and a science.
Don't compete on price. You'll always lose. If you have to compete on price, get out of the industry.
Okay.
That's my best thing to say. But you'll never, you've got Amazon. Amazon's got billions of dollars. If you have to compete on price with an Amazon, you're done. So you have to find your niche, and you have to become the authority in that niche, and then create more value than whatever the product and service is that you are selling.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely, to be successful, I always say that you got to do the opposite of what a larger company will do. It's because you don't have the same strengths as they do, but you have other strengths that may be their weakness. So you want to work with your strengths. So as a small business owner, what would you say are the strengths or advantages you have over some of the larger businesses that are in the same industry that might be competitors for you?
Your superpower as a small business is your speed. You can take the risks, you can change on a dime. So you can identify opportunities much, much quicker than a large corporation, because a large corporation has got to go up the chain of command. Somebody might have a great idea. So if I started a small company and a large company at the exact same starting point, the large company has to go up the food chain. So that's going to take time, and there's friction there. There's friction of change and whatnot. Now, the value that the large company is, they got money, but they got to apply it to it. The value of the small company is they're very nimble. So they're able to see that opportunity. They're able to move on the dime. They're able to execute. You could literally say, I want to go this way, and then change your mind and go that way because it's not working. Of course, your issue is that you don't have money. But what I've learned is sometimes the best thing for you is not to have any money. And the reason why, and I get it, I've been there, I've been broke 100%. But the reason why is, when I don't have money, it forces me to think. It forces me to be guerrilla. It forces me to really, figure out what I need to do. When I have money, it's easy to, do that marketing and waste $500. No big deal. So definitely small means nimble. And for myself, as I grow this company, I want to retain that smallness. So there is huge value of being in the market and being able to move. Now, the X factor is called the silver spoon. One of the problems that us as entrepreneurs suffer is the silver spoon, is that's an idea. Oh, that's another great idea. Oh, let's move over here. So you need to balance out your ability to be nimble and not go after every silver spoon that's out there.
All right. So silver spoon, I guess shiny object, all those things. So so I think you mentioned some great stuff. I always put it in like, you got to be proactive, creative, and flexible. Those are your advantages. Like you said, you have the speed. From a brand standpoint, it's easier to like a person than to like a logo.
So use that.
Feel free to. So so as a small business owner, those are some of the things that you can do.
Yeah.
Now, your expertise has been in technology, but I how do you see that translating into non-technology businesses? Do you think the same things are key, or do you think that technology is a little bit different and is able, has, how would you compare that?
Well, that's a great question. First off, there's technology all around us. So even if you're a home builder and you're a framer, you're like, I got 2x4s, I got windows, I've got whatever. The reality is there's a ton of technology in that lamp. There's a ton of technology in those new thermoplane, 3-panel glasses. There really is. It might not seem like it. There's technology in that QuickBooks. There's technology in your phone. There's technology in your car. So we're kind of stuck with it. Now, whether or not you work with your hands or work with smart homes, yes, that's totally different. But even if you're a restaurant, even if you're a hot dog truck, I mean, I'll tell you what, you're still using social media because you want, number one, you want to be where the people are, or you want to attract the people to where you're going to be. So it's not just having a great product, it's having the ability to let people know that you have a great product and having the ability to have them buy from you. So, and that's leveraging technology.
Okay. So no, that makes a lot of sense. I always think of it as, you almost have to be a media company today,
Yeah.
which is like technology, because really every business, communication and everything, creating content, people aren't going to know that you're there if you're not doing that. So, media is an important piece. I got a question here from Lorraine.
Okay.
She's asking about, we talked about you talked about, you don't want to go after every project. How do you determine, what makes sense and what won't?
Boy, it was so hard at the beginning. And it's still hard now. So for example, Caregiver Smart Solutions, we have 4 main verticals. So we have B2C. You're very worried about your mom. Your mom doesn't live with you. She could be in Florida or she could be right down the block, whatever it is, and you're concerned. So that is one vertical. A second vertical is in-home services. So things like visiting angels, visiting nurses, non-medical help for mom living at home. A third vertical is what's called CCRCs, assisted living and independent living. And then a fourth vertical is what they call the payer system. So it's healthcare. So that's 4 distinct silver spoons. And within them, there's another 4 or 5 down there. But you have to look at the team, where are we strong? Well, right there, we come from the smart home side. So as far as the payer system and healthcare, that's out because I have nobody on the team that specializes in that. Number one. Number two, I have to understand it. Number 3, it's a long sales cycle. So from a startup standpoint, at the end of the day, you have to make product and deploy product. So if that's not going to help you get to profitability as fast as possible, then that's off the table. And then the assisted living facilities. There's definitely value there. We can absolutely bring value, but that's a long sales cycle as well. So that's a holder. And then the second one is the in-home services, where that's going to be the next group that we're going to be going after. But they're very classic, very busy, working in their company, not having enough time to work on their company. And here we have a technology solution that can help them manage that a little bit better and keep an eye on all of their clients, 100 clients at a time, and add more value to their customer base with a rev share as well. But so that is, hopefully I answered the question, but that is one literal thing that I am dealing with. I have these 4 main silver spoons, all are worth $1 billion. Which one do I go after? Number one, it starts with, well, where What am I good at? I'm good at the customer side, so B2C. So I'm going to stay here. I understand the consumer. I understand the consumer mindset. I understand what's valuable in the home at relative ages. So what's valuable to my 97-year-old grandmother relative to a 45-year-old family is totally different from a technology standpoint. So, and it's kind of looking at, you know, where my time is best suited and what's going to get me to profitability as fast as possible. So hopefully I answered your question.
Okay. No, that was really good. Definitely you talked about the 4 verticals,
Yeah.
and really every time you have a different target market, it's actually a whole new business. So
Yeah.
you'd have been in 4 it's hard enough to start one business.
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
be trying to start 4 businesses.
Yeah.
You talked about the sales cycle, cash flow, financing.
Yeah.
You're at a certain point, you have to make sure that you can afford to do a business. The business
Yeah.
could be a great opportunity, but if you can't finance or have the financial wherewithal to implement it successfully, then why go down that route?
Yeah.
And then, of course, expertise. And then, I think you mentioned it some, but just, when you're looking at your target market, who's most likely to buy from you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Customers, they'll see the solution, they can see the answer.
Yeah.
Healthcare system, they don't always buy the best solution. They have relationship. It could take a long time for them to buy from you if they
Right.
will even buy from you.
Yeah.
So all those things are important to evaluate. So that's definitely a great exercise because it can be really easy.
Yeah.
That they could all be $1 billion, but
Yeah.
what can you do best and most profitably? And B2C is where definitely clearly when you lay it out on paper, the way to go. So but so so excellent. So like we've covered a whole bunch of stuff. It's I could ask you a million more questions. So but we only have like 7 minutes left. So like I told you, it goes really fast. So before we close out, I want you to sort of think about 3 key things you want to leave people with. I'm just going to play a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and close things out. So those of you who know me or who are in Jersey, you potentially heard about my Power Breakfast and conference events. We just had one at the end of January, and we're looking forward to another one coming up later this spring, summer. But if you haven't been or haven't heard about it, this is just a quick video, and then we'll come back talking small business with Ryan Hurd. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Ryan Hurd, and we're talking small business. Today's focus was on really smart strategies for, basically smart solutions for in life and business. And we covered a lot of things, definitely key things for entrepreneurs and business owners to think about in terms of going from working in your business to working on your business. And, but Ryan, what are the 3 biggest takeaways our listeners should take away from our conversation today?
Hmm. Wow. Talk about laying it on rough there, huh? Put me on the spot. 3 takeaways. Okay. Takeaway number 1. Success is not linear. Everybody has a habit of looking at the successful businesses, companies, people, and being like, oh, I want to be like that. But, even Steve Jobs was kicked out of his company in Apple. Apple almost went bankrupt and they came back. Walt Disney, which is, I'm a big fanatic about Disney, he went bankrupt. And, he had Oswald the Rabbit, which now is, Mickey. So success is not linear. We have a habit of seeing either success and failure, but there is a whole bunch of bumpy roads in between. So that's number 1. Number 2, there is a point at which you come to, and you're standing on the edge of a cliff. And it's a point at where success and failure look exactly the same, but you have to take the leap. And you don't know if you're going to fall, crash, and burn, or you're going to go off and fly into the way yonder. You have to believe in yourself. And as long as you did your risk management, you got to go for it. And even if you crash and burn, you still learned something. I mean, we could do a whole nother show about all the ways that I crash and burn. I have great stories to tell you on that, but I learned something every single time. And then last, I'll leave you with this, something that Walt Disney did. And it said, if you can dream it, you can do it. It is true. If you have the mindset, number 1, the most important thing you have to do is show up. By far, bar none. If you show up, you're already 90% of everybody ahead of everybody else. And if you have the mindset, if you can dream it, you can do it. You can truly do anything. So that would be my 3 takeaways to this conversation.
Okay, great. So success is not linear. So I guess that's why you can end up being an overnight success 12 years later.
Exactly.
Believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to take the risk and jump in. So you got to get over your analysis paralysis, and sometimes you got to do stuff, and you're not going to know what the answer is until you do it. So, but that can be difficult for a lot of people, and then dream it, you can do it. One of my movies that I like a lot, I can't say it's necessarily a favorite because I got a lot of movies I really like, but was Any Given Sunday. I don't know if you're a fan of that. One of the things he said, and at the end, before he made the final touchdown, it was like, you got to see it before you do it. So you got to, if you, that's why perspective and mentorship and giving people opportunities to go out of their environment is so important, because if you can't see something, if you can't envision it, then how are you going to do it?
Exactly.
So I think that's critical. Or you get somebody to help you. Business owners I work with, I've been in a lot of organizations, so I know what their organization should look like at the next level, but they don't, because they've only been in their company. So either you get help or you go learn it. So that's always critical. So Ryan, this has been great. Definitely great insights, great perspective. I think that if you're listening in, it might be worth even checking it out again, because I think there's a lot of things, there were a lot of nuances, or there's a lot to what you said, and what you said makes it sound a lot simpler than it really is. Or you can't, just to appreciate it more.
But don't let it hold yourself back, right? You got to believe in yourself. You got to take the risk management, but you still got to do it, because that's how dreams are made.
Yep. So thanks again for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We'll have to have you back, and look forward to some great things from you and your business. So hold on for a minute. Let me close out, and we'll be back. All right. So everybody, thanks for joining in another Tuesday evening. I'll always have great guests and opportunity to really, involve you. So I always appreciate your comments, your questions, your feedback after the event. For those of you who aren't live, definitely Appreciate you checking it out, and feel free to leave comments and questions, and tune in to us every week whenever you can. So once again, tonight was great. We had Ryan Hurd, Smart Solutions in Business and Life. Next week, our guest is going to be Steve Jones, and he's going to talk about using digital strategies to increase market share. One of our focuses this year is to make 2023 your best year ever. And as a business owner, one of the prerequisites for it to be your best year ever is to sell more and make more. So we're going to be focusing on sales and marketing a lot. So, next week, digital marketing, very important today's day and age. So hopefully you'll tune in with us and get a lot out of the experience. So, definitely looking forward to next week. Hopefully you have some great things during the week here, and wish you much success there. And always remember, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster your business will grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.